Welcome to Missouri State University West Plains Convocation. I appreciate the attendance of all of our incoming freshmen, our faculty and staff, and the many friends and family who have come here to start this academic year off. I'm extremely pleased today to introduce our speaker, Mrs. Maida Coleman, like tomato, I've been told, Maida Coleman of St. Louis. Education is a part of repetition. Repetition is the foundation of understanding. Maida Coleman. A longtime public servant, Mrs. Coleman has recently been appointed by Governor Jay Nixon to serve on the Missouri Public Service Commission, effective just last week. And we are greatly honored that she would take time out of an extremely busy schedule to fit this in our convocation. Mrs. Coleman, a former state representative and senator, is currently the director of the Missouri Office of Community Engagement. In making this appointment, Governor Nixon said, throughout her distinguished career in public service, Ms. Coleman has demonstrated strong leadership abilities and a steadfast dedication to Missouri families. Her intelligence, integrity, and experience have earned her the respect of leaders on both sides of the aisle and will make her an outstanding asset to the people of Missouri. A native of Sikeston, Ms. Coleman previously served as the executive director of the Missouri Workforce Investment Board at the Department of Economic Development, where she oversaw the state's 37-member business-led workforce policy-making boards. From 2001 to 2009, Ms. Coleman served first as a state representative and then as a state senator from St. Louis, and became the first African-American woman in state history to serve as Senate Minority Leader. Ms. Coleman previously held management-level positions at the Office of Missouri Secretary of State and the St. Louis Housing Authority. She is a former member of the board of directors of Heat Up St. Louis, Cool Down St. Louis, a regional all-volunteer charity that provides utility assistance for the needy, advocates for Missouri and Illinois ratepayers, and does community outreach on energy efficiency and weatherization. In addition, in the early 1980s, Senator Coleman worked for the Transportation Division of the Public Service Commission. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from Lincoln University in Jeff City. We are honored that Ms. Coleman has chosen to be with us today as we begin the start of a new academic year and the start of our students' educational career. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Maida Coleman.
So, first of all, good afternoon. And I have to say that I hadn't looked at the agenda, so I didn't know I was going to be right up. I thought I'd get an opportunity to get a feel of the audience and really then tell you some things that I was thinking might have a lot to do with the start of this new endeavor of going to college and returning to college and faculty. Being here with this great opportunity to help youth. But I'm going to jump right in and give you some information about some things I hope you will find important and special. So first of all, another thing is I'm going to get rid of that introduction because it's way too boring. And if it's boring to me, I know it's got to be boring to people who've never met me before. So I'm going to come up with something like I used to be a ballerina and a, trapeze artist, and I have written, books that have sold multi-millions of copies. So that will be my next introduction. But today I'm going to talk about the start of a new beginning. So I want to tell you a neat story about a little boy I had a conversation with yesterday. His name is Kinley. And I asked him how old he was, and he said, I'm 7 years old, and I start the second grade next week. he said, I am so excited. This is going to be the best year of my life. And I said, so you're 7 and you're going into the 2nd grade and you think this is going to be the best year of your life? He said, yes, because my 2 best friends are going to be in my class. And I said, well, tell me about them. He said, well, Denise was my best friend in kindergarten. And Jack was in a different kindergarten class. And then I went to the 1st grade and Jack was in my class and Denise was in another class. And now the 3 of us will be in the 2nd grade together. And this is gonna be so wonderful. So I'm thinking, okay, he's 7. He's got some interesting concepts already. So I said, well, what's so great about Denise and Jack and why are they your best friends? And he said, because surprisingly, Denise remembers that I'm very sensitive to being tickled. I said, okay. And surprisingly, Jack remembers that I'm sensitive to being tickled, so he tickles me. So they are my best friends because they remember that about me. And I thought, okay, if that's all it takes for someone to remember you're sensitive and the other one to inflict pain, more power to you. So he's excited. This is his best year ever. So I thought that since Kenley's excited about his new beginning, I want you all to get excited about this new beginning for you yourselves also. Not only those of you as students, those of you as parents who are so glad they're going somewhere, and for the faculty, administrators, and staff. I'm like, I have 3 children and they're adults now. They range from 43 to 34. And my goal in life was to send them as far away to college as possible. And I thought the further away they go, the better it is for me. Because if I want to see them, I go visit them. If I don't want them to come home, I just don't send them money. But we're going to talk about this great new beginning because I want you to be as excited as Kenley. So in order to have a great new year, I think you need to create best practices. And so whenever I think about best practices in my life, I think about the book by Robert Fulghum. Everything I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. And when Kenley was saying these things to me yesterday about his best friends, I thought, this all started in kindergarten. It's a good place for you all to start. So I'm going to mention a couple of the quotes from that book. And I think that if you follow these instructions, both as students and as faculty, you will go so far in this new school year. So the first quote from All I Really Need to Know I learned in kindergarten is, don't hit people. I'm really serious about this. In order to make friends and influence people, I think it's really important that you keep your hands to yourself. So I'm going to tell you a couple reasons why. When I was growing up, I'm from Sikeston, Missouri, and I have a cousin that you either loved or hated. The guys thought she was beautiful, a real hottie. The girls were real jealous of her. And so the girls always wanted to beat Wanda up, but they could never catch Wanda because, she was always running away or hanging out with the guys. So one day, since Carolyn couldn't beat Wanda up, she decided to beat me up. So I'm getting off the school bus and she pushes me off the first step, the last step of the bus as I'm stepping out. And I fell on the ground and she jumps on my back and she starts hitting me and jumps up and kicks me and she's pulling my hair and doing all those things. And so of course, the bus driver jumped off the bus, grabbed her, marched her down the street to her house, told her parents that she had been beating me up. And so as I'm leaving, standing there crying and bleeding, she screams at me, you tell Wanda what I did, and she better come see me tomorrow. I'm going to beat you up again tomorrow. So I go off crying, and I go home, and I tell my mom, and she calls her sister, Wanda's mother, and we get to talking, and Wanda decides she's gonna be good as they told her to be, but as soon as she gets a chance, she's gonna beat Carolyn up. So of course, when the parents weren't around, she had an opportunity to beat Carolyn up one day. And I realized that although I had been scarred and hurt and everything, it didn't give me any real satisfaction that Carolyn got beat up. What does give me satisfaction is that now every time I go home and I see Carolyn, I kind of smile and laugh underneath my breath because Carolyn's 400 pounds now and she has 3 teeth. So, so she's got what's coming to her. So, don't hit people. Don't hit people. 9 times out of 10, you hit somebody, 10 years, 20 years from now, you're gonna realize that they're doing much better than you. So another story, I have a good friend named Bill in St. Louis, and Bill grew up in Chicago with Harrison Ford. And believe it or not, and for those who don't know who Harrison Ford is, he played Han Solo in the Star Wars movies. He was Indiana Jones. He's sexy as all get out, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, Bill and his friends lived on the same street with Harrison Ford, and they used to beat him up all the time. They used to chase him home after school and throw rocks at him. And Harrison Ford would cry and run home. And so Bill says to me, now Bill's in his 70s, and he said to me, little did we know that he would turn out so good and we would turn out so miserable. So another example, don't hit people. Their lives are gonna be a whole lot better than yours. So don't hit people. That's one of my main things I want you to take away as you deal with the next few years of your life in college. The other quote from everything I really need to know I learned in kindergarten is clean up your mess. Clean up your own mess. 2 examples. I have a son named John. He's the one that's 43 right now. And John used to deliver pizzas. And he would come home after he's gotten off his shift, and he's got all this change in his pocket. And for some reason, I don't know where he got this from, he would just throw his money down on the floor in his bedroom. It was just the strangest thing. He has this carpet on the floor, and instead of putting it in, a bag or a box or a piggy bank, he'd throw his money down on the floor. He'd keep the dollar bills and everything like that, but all the change he would throw on the floor. And once he was going out of town, and he was running behind getting to the airport. He must have been about 25. And he said, Mom, he said, I think I got about $20 on the floor. Do you mind giving me $20 and you can have all the change on the floor? I said, sure. Because I've been looking at the change for months. And I'm like, okay, $62 on the floor. To this day, you all know, he doesn't know, he had $62 on the floor. And I'm like, this is a mess I don't mind cleaning up of his. Another bad habit John had, and I want you young ones to hear this very well because your parents will come back and get you. John had this terrible habit of putting his plates under the living room couch. Whenever he'd eat, he'd sit there in the living room looking at TV, put his plate under the couch. And I would start smelling something, and eventually I would discover this plate under the couch. And I told him, you just wait until you grow up and get your own house. So he called me recently. Mom, I found a plate under my living room couch. I said, yeah. He said, did you do that? Yep. I'm a big believer. Do unto others as they do unto you. And I just want him to understand and know that if you put a plate under my couch, and leave it for this insane amount of time. I'm putting a plate under your couch. So, that's clean up your own mess, because your parents will come back and do the same to you. So, I also want to talk to you about what happens when you don't clean up your own messes in school. Suppose, for instance, you don't get to class on time. You miss assignments. You flunk a test. You created a mess that you have to clean up. There are a whole lot of ways to avoid those types of messes. For instance, if you're not a morning person, don't take an early class. It's just really simple. If you're dragging in the class looking like, you just rolled out of bed, and with this whole fad with the pajama look that drives me crazy, I'm sorry if any of you all do it. There's just no way I look at that and think that that person took a bath. And it drives me up a wall. So, and just learn. Clean up your own messes. It goes down to schools too. And that also brings me to the faculty, students, and administrators. To me, this being a new beginning for students, it's also a new beginning for you. You have an opportunity to create an environment of learning, to get your students excited about what they're going to learn this semester and this entire year. You have an opportunity to challenge them and to inspire them. And I believe that we all do this kind of work, help others, because you're motivated and you love it. So I would challenge you to be a mentor, to do what you need to do to create the excitement in a young person and motivate them and create a new beginning in their life. So remember the importance, I think, of your words and your actions, and that's helping them transition from one part of life to the other. So look to this school year, all of you, with great excitement and with the anticipation that Kenley had in meeting his two best friends, Jack and Denise, in the same class. Don't hit people and clean up your messes. Thank you.
I would like to thank you for those remarks.
Thank you.
And I think that should be our goal, not to hit people and to clean up our mess and to be excited about the new year ahead. What a wonderful way of saying that. We have many guests that are with us today. I do want to recognize the chair of our Faculty Senate, Dr. Bertie Shaw, who led us in with the faculty mace, and the chair of our Staff Senate, Ms. Mary Kellum, who is with us today as well. Mary, would you raise your hand? Mary Kellum over there. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Angela Totti, who is our Dean of Students.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I broke the microphone. Okay. Good afternoon. And let me again say welcome. To those of you who are beginning with us for the first time, welcome to Missouri State University West Plains. We are very excited to have you here this year and to get you used to being on our campus and being a part of our campus. And that is what the next speaker is going to talk about. I have the privilege today to introduce this year's Student Government Association President, Casey Beeler. He was elected by the student body to be your representative to the university. As the SGA president, he has already represented you at the Board of Governors meetings. He has served on the Welcome Week Steering Committee. For many of you who attended Welcome Week, he was involved in that planning and the implementation of Welcome Week. He has accepted the Chancellor's challenge to increase student involvement this year, and that is one of the things that he's going to be challenging you to help him to achieve this year. He'll also be representing you on a trip to China. He will accompany the Chancellor to China this fall semester and will be representing you. He thought he was going to be able to challenge and gain the title of Big Booty. However, not all titles are gained easily. Casey takes his position very seriously, and we recognize that in him. Last year, when he was a freshman, we were able to use him to represent the university in various ways and going into high schools and being an ambassador and working with SGA, which led him to be elected this year to serve as the SGA president. He's very serious about that role and accepts his responsibility and wants to be able to serve you. So with that, I introduce Casey Beeler.
Hello, everyone. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, Dr. Lancaster, he came to me and he said, Casey, will you do the annual "What Does It Mean to Be a Grizzly" speech? And as soon as he said that, I jumped right on. I said yes, because I'm like, this is going to be easy. It's going to get done quick. I know what it is. So I start thinking, what does it mean to be a grizzly? What do I need to be a grizzly? And I think, I'm student involvement. Go to the games, go to theater events, do everything, go to Welcome Week, things like that. That helps make you a grizzly. The next is work hard, don't give up, be persistent, go for it. If you fail a test, ace the next one. Don't lose faith in what you're doing. So just stay dependable. But as I started thinking about it, I thought, this is all what I think. This is what makes me a grizzly. That's not what may make you a grizzly. So I went out and I started asking, what makes you a grizzly? What makes you feel like a grizzly? And I got everything from loyalty to pride to commitment to doing your best and helping others. Those are all things that I can see in all the freshmen and myself and other students and everyone that makes them a grizzly, but it's not things that came to my head. It's not things that I ranked up high. So what I'm getting at here is no matter where you look, if you look in the dictionary, all you're going to find under a grizzly definition is an animal of a large race of the brown bear native to North America. I don't think any of us meet that. But so obviously the dictionary is not going to help you. There's not a sign posted somewhere by Dr. Bennett, Dr. Lancaster, Dr. Toddy saying, hey, you have to do this, 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 and this, and you're a grizzly. Don't worry about it. There's none of that. It is what you make it. It is what makes you a grizzly. You choose it, you do it, and that's what makes you a grizzly. No one else can choose it for you. No one else can live your life for you. You make your own decision as to what it means to be a grizzly. Thank you.
Very good, Casey. You just took my comments. On behalf of the faculty, students, welcome. I think we've welcomed you several times, but classes start tomorrow, and we're here, and the real thing starts to happen. The butterflies will be churning for all of us. That happens in faculty as in staff as well. We are excited about a new year. It gives us new opportunities and new ways of doing things. And so I would encourage all of us to look at that and to seize that opportunity. I am reminded, Maida reminded me of, I'm not sure why, but reminded me of when I was had just graduated from high school, had received an opportunity to go to Silver Dollar City in Branson to work. And so that first summer I was there, and I was smitten by a young lady from California, and all I knew was her name was Susie, and that she worked in funnel cakes. And so she was Susie Funnel Cakes. And so I don't know, I'm sure no one else has ever done this in their life before, but I found all about Susie from friends and others, except I never talked to Susie. Until one day, and I asked her out, and I mean, it took great courage. You have no idea. It took great courage to ask her out. So I asked her out, and she said yes. And that was the end of our relationship. Truly, it was. I didn't follow through. Now, you could say, what a wimp. That's all right. It's okay. I finally got married and had 4 kids, so I found something later. But That's not my wife, by the way. But I found courage later, let's put it that way. But sometimes an opportunity stares us in the face, and we don't see it for what it is. And for many of us, and for those of you who, no matter what your age is, this is an opportunity that you will never have again. That doesn't mean that something, you could do it again, and go on, but this opportunity, this time will be gone if you can't seize that opportunity. And for all of us, and again, that's faculty and staff too. This is a new year, new ways of doing things, new ways of seeing things, new students who I hope invigorate us and challenge us and make us think. And as I've told them, for some of them before, I hope they make us wake up in the middle of the night and ask questions of ourselves and of our subject matter. That's why we're here. We're to create an education for all of us. So welcome, and we will start the new year. To do that, we have started, it's now tradition, I suppose, after a third year it's tradition, the signing of the Book of Grizzlies. And so we have a book up here, and what we will ask is for every one of you, those of you who are new freshmen, that you will move to the aisle, and you will stand, and we're in no big hurry. All right, but as you come, we're going to escort you up the stairs, and you will go to the podium that there is to your left, and there's a pen, and you will sign on the line. And one of these days, you can come back and say, hey, I'm in the Book of Grizzlies. One of these days, you will have a degree in hand as well, and that's when we see you on a different stage. But this is the first time, okay? This is the first time. So at this time, we're going to ask Jacob Petrus. Jacob is a sophomore here at Missouri State University West Plains, and I thank him very much for sharing his talents with us today. But as Jacob begins to play, freshmen, would you please move to the aisle? You may start doing that right now. And as Jacob plays, then we will begin the signing of the Book of Grizzlies.
I think somebody needs to be down there with the record. There's a lot of people right now.
What's your name?
Everybody get a chance to sign the book that needed to sign? Okay. So before we take out of here, I would like for all the parents of our students and all the siblings and grandparents or whoever else might be here, would you stand? We have parents and others in the crowd. Very good. Remain standing. Remain standing. Okay? Thank you all for coming. I'm going to ask the faculty and staff to stand as well. All right, students, look around. There are a lot of people in this room pulling for you. This is going to be tough. There's going to be times when you're like, why in the world am I doing this? And you're just going to have to persevere. And when you have a question, you go to someone that you see standing, that you know, and you say, why should I continue to do this? And they're going to give you the best advice, and that is you seize that opportunity. You keep seizing the opportunity. And it takes a long time. I am 53 years old, and I'm still seizing the opportunity. Still. So, thank you all for coming. Have a great year.